Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are particularly lucky today. We're sitting down with Brayden Biesinger. Brayden is a phenomenal coach, sales leader, high-performing sales athlete himself. Brayden's had multiple Golden Door summers.
One Golden Door year.
One Golden Door summer. Sorry, I'm getting carried away. He's sold significant revenue every year that he's went out and performed. I feel really lucky to kind of have him on the podcast today and kind of learn from him. So thanks for being on.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm also excited at this because a lot of the guys in the company, I kind of know their origin story, how they got into sales. I was there for the beginning of it, or that have worked with me, but I honestly don't know yours. Like, I don't know like a ton about like how you got into it, what the beginning fights were and stuff like that. So I'm excited to get into that today.
Yeah.
But also just to like learn a lot about like maybe your different processes of like signing people up. What are some key phrases and stuff you go through? But we're all lucky to learn from you today, and thanks for being on.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm excited to be here.
So I guess kind of just hopping into it, how'd you get into sales? Like, what was the thing that kind of like brought you in? Was it a personal decision? Was it someone outside of you? How did that go?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of backstory. I mean, sports was my entire life growing up. Like, that was the only thing that mattered. Like, football and basketball. Football was definitely my main sport. So the dream was always to play college football. That was like the main thing. And then nothing crazy, like didn't have any huge offers, but I had an offer to go play at Snow College. And so went on the mission, came back. Plan was to go play at Snow College. That was the full intent, was getting ready to go there. And then probably it was like 2 or 3 weeks before training camp started. We were just playing pickup basketball, and I shattered my wrists in half playing ball. So it was bad. Yeah, season was over immediately. Like, it was like I was out for 4 to 5 months.
Oh,
So the idea, I mean, the dream was to play at BYU someday. That was like the dream, to play football there. But I didn't have an offer there, so I was like, well, I'll go play at Snow. If things go well, I can transfer to BYU, play at BYU. That was like the dream. So then didn't get to play at Snow that year because of the injury. And so it was the idea of, okay, do I want to train for another year and just try to walk on at BYU? Because I was transferring anyways. They're just a 2-year school. Or at the same time, I kind of started getting introduced to sales. So had a ton of buddies from the mission who were doing it. I think that was the biggest kind of connections I had, were just mission friends. Or after COVID, I served the second half of my mission in Texas. There was just door-to-door people in our wards and stuff like that. So I started to get introduced to it, and I just started meeting with everybody I could. Like, started learning about the industry, liked the idea of, I heard, you could make $30,000, $50,000 in it. I heard one person that made over 6 figures, and it just blew my mind. So I was like, well, maybe this is a real opportunity. So it kind of became the debate of, do I want to hang up the cleats and like jump into the sales thing, or do I just try to train for another year and try to walk on and see what happens? And that was like a really tough pill to swallow. But I mean, obviously I chose sales, but I think ultimately it was just, this is going to end eventually, the football thing. So whether it's now or delayed, like, I'd rather just get ahead financially. I always felt like I wanted to be like, not that money's everything in life, but I was always pretty money driven. I wanted to get ahead financially, invest. I didn't even know what that meant, but like I wanted that. And so I just saw sales as like a good opportunity and kind of jumped into it from there. So,
dude, that's crazy. I mean, that had to be a pretty emotional decision with like breaking your wrist and stuff like that. I mean, I can't even imagine like, yeah, dude, I feel like, especially because you were at Snow, I might even have erred on the side of like, hey, let's get up and go again. So,
yeah, it was a weird phase because that was my whole identity was football. Like, that was all I knew. Like, I'm a football player. Like, that was it. So when it ended, I really was like, why am I here? Why am I at the school? Transferred to BYU still because I got my associates at Snow real quick. And I was like, why am I at BYU? Like, I don't want to be here. Like, I didn't like it. And yeah, it was just interesting. That was all I wanted to do, was play football. And sales was sales kind of just replaced that. It was so competitive. I could push for something, be hungry. But yeah, it was a weird time of life for sure. It was tough. Probably one of the lower points.
So, I mean, my experience with, you've always been amazing at everything I've seen sales-wise or heard of. Like, was the beginning rough, or was it like, in getting out, knocking your first summer, like, was it a slow burn for you? Did you pick it up right away? Like, kind of how was, like, talk me through that.
Yeah, I honestly did pick it up fairly quick. And I'm okay saying that because I trained like crazy before my rookie year. I feel like a lot of guys, they kind of want to do it. They might do it. They kind of decide last minute if they want to go out or not. And then they're like, okay, let's figure it out. And then they're kind of committed. When I broke my wrist, I mean, it was, probably end of July, start of August, just before we were supposed to report to training camp. Yeah, July. It was July. And so I had I had a full off season to kind of reflect on like, what am I going to do this next year? So I kind of, as I started to get introduced to it, wanted to have a decision made by New Year's, I remember. So like over Christmas break was like, okay, yes, we're fully jumping in. That was when I knew football season was ending and I'd have to start talking with coaches if I wanted to have a chance at going to BYU. So I kind of knew I had to have a deadline on that. So, but once I was into sales, I was pretty 2 feet in. Like I was the kid bugging my manager every week. Like I need to train. Like watched all the training videos, kind of bugged my leaders a lot. So, I mean, everyone has a slow start, but I remember probably about a month in, it just kind of clicked. Like I don't know why I still remember this, but I do. I remember my first year I think I had 9 sales week 1, had like 11 sales the next week, 15 the next week. And then week 4, I had like 31. Week 5, I had 33. So just that it finally clicked. And
well, that's awesome.
Ever since there, it was kind of a slow start. About week 4, week 5, it just kind of took off. And ever since there, we've been rolling.
So, I mean, obviously it sounds like you had a rich entrance into it. And the fact of like great training, great like preparation for the summer.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think everyone always feels it's like there's something they missed or like something that wasn't given to them on their run up that they wish they would have had and maybe not given or like they wish they just would have applied or did.
Yeah.
Is there anything now, knowing what you know and having as many summers, that you're like, maybe this wasn't in the beginning of my journey, but like I'd really try to put this in the new guys that I bring on their journey. So,
2 things come to mind is one, I just wanted to make money. Like I'm a numbers guy, so I knew this is exactly how much money I need to make. I need to get this many sales per week, per month, per day. If this many of them cancel, like this is exactly how much money I'll walk away with. Like I knew those numbers very clearly. But there was like no actual reason. I just wanted that dollar amount. I feel like it would push me enough, but it was doable. So I think one, just having like, you always hear like you have to have a why in this job. And the more I've done this, it's become very clear over the years. But I think having a stronger reason why than strictly the money would have been big. But also, I think dreaming bigger, like early on, just because I remember it was kind of cool. One of my mentors who helped me get into sales, he had done it for a long time. He's done this for like 10, 11 years. And he is kind of this calculator that every year he goes and inputs all the numbers of all of his rookies, like month 1, month 2, month 3, month 4. And so it kind of, over just years of collecting data, you can see like the learning curve of rookies, which is kind of cool. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
So he had showed me that before my rookie year, like, hey, if you actually, because I was like, if I want to do this many sales, I just need this many per week. And he's like, well, that's not how it works. Like you're going to have a gradual learning experience. So he kind of showed me like, if you want to shoot for that goal, this is how many you need to sell in May. So in May, once I kind of the end of May had a couple big weeks, I was like, okay, I'm a little ahead of pace. Like I'm good. I have like a buffer in my brain is what I thought. And I remember just like May 31st, it was a Sunday, he came and sat me down and he's like, hey, we need to up your goal like a lot. And just because I was ahead of pace. And I had messed with it. And if you look at, hey, this is how much I did in May, what should I do? It scared the crap out of me because I was like more than doubling my goal for my rookie year. And I literally told him, I was like, no, like I'm not doubling the goal. Like I've known my goals so clearly for so long, like this is what I'm going for. And it terrified me. It felt very vulnerable, like going for something that much bigger. But luckily he did. He pushed me pretty hard on that. He believed in me a lot. I owe a lot of success to him. But we changed my goal a month into the summer. Just upped it a lot. And then, we ended up surpassing that by the end of the year. So I think, but just being able to dream bigger, quicker, and you can't be oblivious to that, obviously, and just set unrealistic goals. But I obsessed over the numbers. I knew exactly what I needed. And I think as long as you do it the right way, dreaming bigger is always a good thing. Yeah. Err on the side of dreaming bigger than short. So
what's so cool about that story though, too, and it reminds me of a quote from Gowdy. He has a quote that says, the straight line belongs to man and the curved line belongs to God.
Yeah.
And I think what's really cool about like that vision is you had a straight line of like, hey, this is where I was going.
Yeah.
And then having a mentor that can come in and kind of like, hey, give you a bigger picture through data, but then also just through inspiring words.
Totally.
And belief is awesome. I'd actually love to talk to you about some of your first couple sales leaders. What are things that you learned about maybe managing and inspiring people from them? And like how did they change your life? Because when I think back on the people that taught me how to sell or like were my first couple leaders, like I think there's always a really soft spot. Like that's your Jedi master.
Totally.
So.
Yeah. The main one that I had, especially getting into it, I mean, there's so many lessons. I worked with him for years, and there's so many lessons I can take away. But especially at the beginning of my sales career, I feel like just learning how personable he was. Like, yeah, my goals were personal to me. He knew how to push me compared to how to push a different rookie. He knew how to push me compared to how to push a second-year rep or a third-year rep. So I just remember how personal he was, and he knew my goals. He knew what I wanted to hit. He would have one-on-one meetings with me. And even as I worked with him through like multiple years, like my journey was very unique, I feel like. Going into year 2, I was engaged doing long distance. That was one of the worst things ever. He had also done that at one point in his life. Like him and his wife did long distance when they were dating during a summer. And so like just bouncing things like that, he was always, even if it wasn't from a sales aspect, like, hey, this is how I can help you sell more. It was always, yeah, how can I help you with your relationship? How can I help you with your goals? How can I help you? Yes, with the sales stuff, but it was so personal all the time. I always knew, even if I just needed to vent to somebody, like I could just send him a voice clip on my phone, and just me like sending that to him, I like could feel better throughout my day. But yeah, just being very, very personable. Like that was for sure the main thing. He knew all of his guys individually. It was unique relationship for everyone. So
That's cool. Brayden, you have so many strengths. I mean, I feel like from what I've heard today, but also just what I saw over the last summer. I mean, you're great at inputs and outputs and knowing what you have to do to like succeed. I think that's why you've taken a lot of the emotion out, I think, of like the selling process. And I think that's huge, and it's a really smart thing that people should do, because when people jump into sales, they're like, is this my personality?
yeah,
Is the aura there? And it makes it more mystical.
Yeah.
And I feel like it can be so much more calculated for a lot of people, which is a cool lesson I feel like you've already taught. But I mean, with all your strengths, I mean, you're a great salesman. You've recruited a lot of people. What's maybe one thing that you're like, hey, this has been something I've struggled with throughout my sales career, or maybe recruiting or stuff like that? What's one thing that you're like, hey, this has been a struggle, but I've learned this and I've gotten better? Does that make sense?
yeah, totally. I think the biggest thing I've struggled with is selling and recruiting are very different things, for sure. I always picked up selling quickly. Like it made sense to me. Like, this is how you sell. When they say this, you say this. This is how you handle this objection. If they're a startup pitch, a DIY, or a switch over, a new move-in, like this is how you handle every one of those. So I feel like there were very clear guidelines, and I just picked it up and it made sense. And I thought, I mean, a lot of people fall into this trap, but if you're good at sales, you're a good recruiter. And those are not true. Like, you can be good at both for sure, but they're very different skill sets. So I think, I mean, yeah, definitely struggled with recruiting like the first couple of years. That was definitely a lot tougher for me. And especially just the personality type of my mentor. This wasn't anything against him, but he is phenomenal at, like I said, being personal. That's one of his best strengths. And so it's the same way that he sells. It's funny because I've learned all my sales skills from him, but if you go watch us knock doors, like, we'll do it very differently now. Like, one of his best things ever is he's amazing at icebreakers. Like, every door, he'll never repeat the same icebreakers. It's always unique. He can come up with it on the spot. It's amazing. I don't know how he does it. Like, it still blows my mind to this day. I suck at icebreakers. It sounds like I'm just kissing up to the person I talk to. So I don't do it. Like, I just never do that part. I just get to business. So it's just a different style. So I feel like when I learned how to recruit from him, he was very good at the recruiting pitch changed based on every person. There wasn't like, and I just kind of need like a script, like, tell me what to say and I'll learn it very quickly, I promise. But it was so fluid, just the way he recruited, that was really hard for me to learn. Like, I'm good at this. I know how to do this. I can help you make a lot of money. And like, why don't you want to make a lot of money with me? Like, that was kind of my strategy of sales. Like, this can change your life and I want to help you do that. That was just kind of my recruiting. And I just didn't have a lot of success with it. And I feel like over the years, as I've done it, I've learned a lot more of, okay, how do I have a structure to recruiting still? Because I like that. But yeah, how do you still tailor it to the person? It's just two different skills you got to learn. So that, yeah, I'm a lot better at it now. I've learned to recruit as I've learned and met more mentors, and working with Zeke has helped a ton with recruiting. But yeah, that was something that I struggled with for sure for the first couple of years. Was sales and recruiting are very different skill sets you have to have.
That's awesome. One thing that I like that you really said in there though too was like, he's really good at like a warm like compliment at the beginning and stuff like that. And you're like, I just don't do it. And that reminded me of the guy that taught me how to do sales. Like, he's 6'4". He's got a very like bigger than life personality. And like a lot of the things and phrases that he would tell me to say, like, I would do them and I'm like, it didn't work for me. And not that like, I don't think it could work. I just don't think my delivery of it was the same.
Yeah.
But just like you, I found things that were good for me. And I think when people go into that, like in your sales journey, when you have something that someone does in your office that doesn't work for you, Like, it's one of two things. It's either it might not be the right exact fit for you, but you still want to find something that works. I think a lot of times kids go in and they're like, oh, it doesn't work for me. So then
reinvent the wheel.
Yeah. They find, but like there's so much out there through social media, on YouTube, on just so many different things. You can find one that works, but make sure it's tried and tested and been successful. I can just tell too from your response right there that you have a ton of great responses for all those different objections and stuff like that. And I was wondering if you're cool if I fire a couple at you.
Let's do it.
And then we can kind of talk about it. For me, I feel like for rookies, there's three things that I always like really want them to hit on. And I feel like people talk about switchovers, but the one that I think most important is getting over the spouse objection, because that one pops up in basically every other one.
Yeah.
If someone throws a spouse objection at you, what's kind of like the first thing you'll say? And then if they give it again, what's the second thing you'll say if they bring it up again?
Yeah. I mean, my biggest thing with the spouse objection, I feel like there's so many different ways to handle the spouse objection. I've learned it 5 different ways. But my biggest thing is I always believe it's not a real objection. It's a smokescreen. The first time I hear it, if it comes up multiple times, it's different. But the first time I hear it, I don't necessarily believe it. But you can't just deflect and plow it and ignore it. So I always acknowledge it. Like, no, for sure, talk to your wife. Like, yeah, we obviously want to make sure you guys are on the same page. But then to me, the most important step of the spouse objection is cool. Talk to them, make sure they're on board. If let's assume you do go talk to them and they're on board with it and they're cool with it. If they say yes, they'll do it. How do you feel about getting this done? And so a lot of times I think they just don't want to make a decision on the spot. They don't trust you. They might just not be interested. Like whatever it is, there's something underlaying that objection. But it's the easiest cop out. Like, oh, let me just talk to my wife. Like, let me talk to my wife. Like, it's such an easy cop out. Or let me talk to my husband. So it's like, cool, talk to your husband. But if they say yes, how do you feel about getting it done? And then it basically is like, cool, let's play this out. You're going to go talk to them. This is probably what's going to happen. If they're like, hey, you're the one that talked to the guy, what do you think? I'm like, what are you going to say to them? Because then it actually gets the real objection out.
Totally.
So sometimes it will come up and they're like, well, I just need to talk to them. Then I know they might not be the decision maker, whatever it is. There's a lot of things it can be. But I would say more than half the time, it wasn't a spouse objection. They just use that as a cop out. So then I take their spouse out of the equation, put the decision back on them, and then I can get the real objection. And that's what I can solve. So
what's funny about sales and just what I love about that response is a lot of times using your imagination as you get older, people are like, oh, you frown upon it. But that's a great example of like, hey, imagine if your spouse was here right now.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think they'd say?
Yeah, exactly.
And then two options. You either get you realize that they actually are the decision maker and they're just trying to push you off. Or they give you the objection their spouse would get. Yeah. Sometimes you can overcome it.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's awesome. One I kind of wanted to go over with you too that I think a lot of times I miss maybe in this podcast format. But like people are like, hey, I don't need during the winter. Like what are typically things you'll hit him with that to kind of like overcome that and rope them back into it, sign up for a quarterly or bi-monthly service?
Yeah, I have a unique approach to this, I'm sure, compared to most. But the way I learned to sell initially, I did this a little bit, and then over the years I just do it more and more. I'm like very deeply rooted in this. Is I pitch pest control and mosquito to every door. Like that's just, it's not negotiable to me. Like I like to pitch both as if it were one service. So to me, I don't deal with that like ever. Like it's very easy to overcome because one of two things, like depending on, I mean, I've worked at, every year the pricing structures change a little bit, but a lot of the time, because the mosquito package stops during the winter time, their price will lower during the winter, or but in the winter the price is going to drop because there's less bugs. So we'll lower the price for you and people eat that up. They love that. Or it's like, so we'll come every month in the summer and then in the winter time, there's way less bugs. So we just start coming out every 2 months or every 3 months, whatever it is. But I feel like I just 8 mile that and pre-overcome that by talking about, there's more bugs in the summer. So we'll come monthly for you in the summer, especially with the mosquitoes. And then in the winter, either the price will drop or will come out less often because you don't need it as much. So cool. I feel like I never really get pushed back on that one, to be honest, but it's because I pitch both. So
that's awesome. Let's talk about some funny stories. So like, I mean, I feel like a lot of times throughout the summer, some of the funnest, you make great money, you learn a lot about leadership, but I have some hilarious situations that I just ran into with like reps or homeowners. Can you give us one that you're like, hey, this was pretty funny?
Funny story. There's always, I talk business on the door, so I'm usually not one to get like super funny, but you always have a rep or two in the office that is hilarious stories. So I have stories from other reps that are just hilarious.
Yeah.
But also I think one funny thing was just my rookie year, our apartment complex, they hated us. Like we just rowdy guys, everyone lived at the apartment complex. And then we had a fire start in one of the apartments, which didn't go well. So like burned the apartment down, and then the like sprinkler heads turned on. And so it flooded the apartment, and then it flooded the apartment below them. But we had like the renter's insurance on it, so they couldn't do it. But they tried to like kick us out of the complex. Like they wanted like the entire sales team to move, and they like couldn't. They like couldn't get. But they just hated us. Like that was rough. But yeah.
When they traced back the fire, was it like the Office episode where they're like Ryan started the fire? Like
we all knew. Like we knew which kid it was. Like it was bad because it was somewhat early in the summer, and so the branch manager in the office was coming to our team meeting that morning to like, it was going to be a little bit of a unique team meeting. He was going to come talk to us. He wasn't at the office that day, and he was just going to talk more how the technicians work, the behind the scenes stuff, just give some talk to the rookies about a lot of that stuff. So he was coming there that day, and then the apartment whose apartment was burning down, they were like, it was right before a meeting, so they're late. They're like not showing up to this meeting, and it was like, this is an important meeting, like the branch manager's coming or whatever, and everyone be on your best behavior. And then I remember, the apartment burns down. People are like running in and out trying to take care of this. Half of us are at the meeting with this branch manager, and then one of the kids walks in who was in the apartment that burned down, and I mean, he's just soaking wet from all the sprinklers. And their apartment had like multiple inches of water in it. So he's like barefoot, his feet are all like dirty, and he just like walks into the meeting, just like drenched, like barefoot at the apartment complex. He's like, hey, sorry, what's up? And like just sits down like nothing happened. And I just remember like that was the moment, like what's going on? And the branch manager's like, who am I working with this summer? So that was a good time.
That kid kills me. That's so funny.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good story. That's awesome. Well, cool. I feel like too, a lot of times we can get really like narrow vision on just the door-to-door realm.
Yeah.
What are maybe some other fields or some other things that have inspired you, whether through stories from those fields or one-liners or books or movies, or what's something that's inspired your sales career but maybe hasn't been directly related to it?
Yeah, so I think the thing I'm like most passionate about, I can talk about this for a long time, but I studied psychology in college. That's what I graduated in. There's 3 types of psychology. My dad's a clinical psychologist. He's a PhD. That's what I thought I wanted to do long term. It was like, I'm going to go to school. I'm going to become a psychologist, eventually take over my dad's business possibly. Like that was kind of the idea. Realized very quickly I don't want to go to 10 years of school. But your undergrad, a bachelor's in psychology doesn't really do anything. It's just like a stepping stone to go to get more school. But we just learned about all the basic topics. But 90% of people, when they hear psychology, they think of 2 types of psychology. You have like mental illnesses, like people who, they're born with some type of mental illness. Their brain might be wired differently or whatever. You have mental health, which are same way you like break your arm and you got to go to the doctor to like get your arm fixed. Like, if your mom passes away, obviously you might have some mental struggles. Like that's not easy. So your mental health might drop, and it's like, how do we help you get back to normal, right? And so that's what everyone thinks of as psychology. But then the third type is mental performance. And that's what I learned, like I loved in college studying that. So it's not like directly correlated to sales, but that has affected me a ton. I took a class at BYU from a guy named Craig Manning. And
the fear is mine.
Yeah, unbelievable. He only teaches 1 class at BYU. David Jones actually told me like, dude, you got to take his class. Like it's unbelievable. And that class has like easily changed my life and my sales career more than anything else. But long story short, I mean, he's worked with a lot of athletes. He worked with the Red Bull athletes for a long time. He worked with the USA Olympic team. He's worked with LeBron James when they won the finals down 3-1 against the Warriors. He worked with that team. Yeah. He worked with Giannis and the Bucks when they won a few years ago. So he's worked with like elite athletes. But he has a journal that he makes. There's so many lessons I learned from him, but he has a journal that he makes all of the athletes use, or he'll stop working with them. Like they have the journal, take a picture of it and send it to him daily. And if they don't do that, he'll just quit working with them. Like it's not a negotiable. So basically when we take the class, it's kind of as if you hire him. So we learned a lot more of the psychology and the reasoning and the behind the scenes stuff of it. But like we had to do these things. Like we had to start journaling daily. Basically all the things he makes the athletes do. Or I mean, he also does stuff in business, and he's spoken at like some door-to-door stuff before, but sports is kind of his main thing. But he basically had us doing the journal every day, and we learned a lot of it. So anyways, that journal has changed my sales career a lot. Like I teach that to all of our reps who come out. I kind of make them use it. But so it's not super directly correlated to sales, at least what most people think, but there's so much overlap that I use that thing religiously. And that's what helps me The biggest part of the journal is just learning what your strengths are. Like a lot of times people are like, I'm good at this, but these are my weaknesses. So if I get better at my weaknesses, I'll be really, really good. And it's actually the opposite. It's like, this is what I'm really good at. I have these weaknesses, but if I just get better at my strengths, that's how you become the top 1%. Like if you just get better at your weaknesses, that's like the definition of being mediocre. Like you'll be average at everything you do. And so it's like, what am I good at? How do I become the top 1% at what I'm good at? Yes. So I think I've applied that principle really well, which has allowed me to have success in sales. And so that journal has helped, find my strengths. That's what helps me remove a lot of the emotion from the sales. Like I'm never worried, like, am I going to get a sale or not? It's like, I just do X, Y, Z and people just sign up because I know those are my strengths. So, I mean, I could talk about that for a long time, but the journaling and the performance psychology behind it, was outside of the sales world how I learned it, but that's more than anything impacted my sales career.
The journal, honestly, is really curious to me. So, like, what are maybe like two things that you're like, this is a pillar thing you need to write down every day in the journal, and this is like why it positively impacted my sales career?
So there's 5 steps to it. It's pretty short and sweet, but you have like your objective or your goal, step 1. Step 2 is like your plan, which are essentially you learn that from step 3, which are your strengths. Step 4 is one thing you need to improve on. And then step 5, you evaluate yourself on a bunch of different things. But step 3, your strengths is for sure the most important part of the journal. So basically when I come home at night, I'll come home at nighttime and I will sit down right when I go home from the doors. It only takes like 10, 15 minutes. And once you do it more, you can get a little quicker at it. But I will think about my day. Okay, what did I do today that got me sales? Like what exactly did I do today? Like I go think of the however many sales I had. I'll go like walk myself through every one of those. And I'm like, what were things that I did that were my strengths that directly correlated and led me to getting that sale? And usually there's patterns in your day, like, oh, like 4 of my sales, this happened in them, or they were, if you had a couple new move-ins and you got all the new move-ins, or you got a bandwagon and you got a group of friends, whatever it is, a lot of times there's similarities in your day on how all your sales went. So I'll write down 3 of my strengths. They need to be something you can repeat. Like it's not just like, I don't know, I got to think of like a bad example, but it's not just like, I kept knocking doors, or I don't know, like it's weird. It's very like intentional. Like I pitched the bundle, or I got in backyard. Like it's things that I did that are 2 to 3 words. And so I write a couple of them down, and then those you'll start as you do this weekly and daily and for a full summer, and then summer after summer after summer. At this point, I have hundreds of days of evidence of when I go out and sell, these are the things that I do that directly lead to me getting sales. So when you do it over extended periods of times, you start to sort of see patterns of which ones pop up the most. And so then I just know when I wake up in the morning, I hate positive affirmations. Like that's really controversial, but I think they're stupid. They're bullcrap. I don't believe in them. So I know reps going to wake up and be like, today's just going to be a good day. And then they're going to have a good day. Like I've seen so many reps like that in the past that they'll have a huge day. We got to highlight them the next day. And it's like, dude, tell us about your day. What happened? And they're like, I just knew it. Like I just got to my hood and I was just like, it's going to be a good one. Like I can feel it. I'm like, that's such bull crap. Like that doesn't get you sales. Like, because then the next time you feel good and then you don't get sales, you're not going to believe in it. So I hate doing that. So this is like concrete evidence of, hey, I went out and sold the last week. I had however many sales last week. And in my journal, I wrote down 3 strengths every day. And this one strength popped up 4 out of the 6 days. Like that's now going to become one of my plan. And so the strengths that pop up the most become step 2, the plan. So step 2 and step 3, your plan and your strengths are the most important. So those are what we call like your cues. So the only thing I tell myself on the doors, takes time to practice. And I think the hardest thing in sales to do is removing all emotion. Like you want to be super level-headed in sales like we talked about. And so the thing I do to try to do that is I just tell myself my cues. Like that's the only thing. It's not, oh, I'm due for a sale. I'm going to sell the next door. The next door is going to be a sale. I know a lot of reps do that. To me, there's a lot of strengths that I've had, but to this day, my main ones are I pitch the bundle, I get in backyard, and I close for customer, like a certain close I do. So I just tell myself, pitch the bundle, get in backyard, close for customer. And I just repeat those 3 things because I know if they open the door or not, if they're interested or not, whatever it is, if they are a qualified buyer, if I just do those 3 things, I just know they'll sign up. So I don't have to worry about, is this store the sale or is it going to be 10 doors from now or 100 doors from now? I just know when I do that every single day, like I'll throw up over $5,000 at least in revenue every day. And I don't have to worry about, is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? I just stick to my strengths or my cues or what we call them. So
let's dive into moving the customer. So, I mean, obviously moving into the backyard, it's a great thing to do. 1, because you're getting to follow you. 2, because you're further in their domain. And people are generally more relaxed in the backyard.
Totally.
How do you do it? How do you get people?
This is the sales 101. So I always sign people up in the backyard, like 95% of my sales, or in the house. If I get in the house, it's the same thing, but got to be in the backyard or inside their house. So I have this thing called the benefit question that I I'm like huge on that. I think it's the most important part of the sales process, what we call the benefit question. So like you do your intro, you have the discovery phase, you learn if it's a switchover startup, DIY or whatever, you learn if they have pain points. I explain the actual service. And then depending on if it's a startup or switchover, usually it's a switchover, but I finished explaining the service. I need the customer to voice to me why this would help them. Like usually a lot of people roll into price right there. And to me, it's not worth rolling into price or trying to go into somebody's backyard if they're not interested. So I ask them the benefit question, which typically is like, hey, look, everyone does pest control for a different reason, right? Some people it's for the kids, the pets. Some people just want to be outside more. Some people just want to keep the bugs out of their house, whatever it is. But I guess for you, what would be the biggest benefit of doing something like this? Or if it's a switchover, it's like, but for you, between this upgrade, and this upgrade, which of the 3 upgrades do you feel like would help you the most? And then if they won't answer that question, I just leave the door. Like it's not worth my time. So I need them to answer that question if I want to go in their backyard. So I'm only attempting to go in the backyard with people who answer that question because they're already pretty qualified. And then me going in the backyard will up the odds of them signing up. So once they answer that question, like, oh, well, we would do it for this reason. And I go, well, why do you say that? And then they voice it. So they start selling themselves basically. And then whatever it is, I have multiple questions that I can use to get into the backyard, but I just use that. So if they're like, oh, well, I mean, yeah, we have dogs. So if you can treat for ticks and fleas, that'd be good. It's like, well, yeah, obviously we want to keep them safe. And I just want to ask any question about the backyard. Like I just want to start talking about it. But the easiest way, once you get good at it, is you just ask about what they just answered with the benefit question. So if they talk about their dogs, it's like, okay, cool. Well, if keeping the dogs is priority, is it safe? Like I assume the dogs hang out in the backyard. Do they ever come up front or strictly in the backyard? Because I just know dogs in their backyard. And then they're like, oh yeah, they're out back. I'm like, okay, how big is the backyard? So anytime they answer backyard, I just ask how big it is. I'm like, cool, how big is the backyard? Like bigger than the front, smaller, same size, how big is the backyard? And then they'll start doing like, probably a little bit. I mean, yeah, it's bigger in the back. I'm like, cool, do you mind if I check it out real quick? And I just kind of cut them off and ask if I can go. And so it's like, I only ask that to people who answer the benefit question. So they're already pretty qualified. But I get them to answer the benefit question. I find out what they care about. And then I start talking about what they care about and why that would be in the backyard. If they have wasps, I need to know if there's wasps on the back of the home. Or if their kids play, where are the kids? Because we want to keep the kids safe from the wasps. That's going to be in the backyard. If they have ants, where are the ants? Are they in the front yard? Are they in the backyard? Do you have mulch in the backyard? Because ants are in the mulch. Like there's so many questions you can ask just about the backyard, depending on what they care about. And then ask them how big the backyard is, and then ask if you can go back there. So
what's cool about those is they're all yes trains, and they're all very, very likely that they're going to continue.
Exactly.
So that's cool. That's awesome. I guess in kind of like I learned stuff every year summer that I went out, and you've obviously went out a couple summers now. What was the overarching lesson that you got last summer? Like there was always something I wasn't expecting that I learned either about leadership or about sales or about recruiting or whatever it may be. But was there something that you learned in between like beginning or end of last season? You're like, oh, I wasn't expecting to learn that, and this is what I learned.
Good question. I mean, yeah, every year's unique. I know last year was fun. Like it was a really good year. 2 years ago is when I did my Golden Door. My Golden Door year, I was very solo. Like, not that you can't do both, like you can't lead from the front, but all my goals were just hit the Golden Door like as quickly as possible. That was my only thing. So I was not really involved with my reps. I had another manager who handled all my reps. Like it was set from the beginning. We all knew that I was just going to knock. So I knocked crazy hours all day, hit a Golden Door. And so this last year, I knew I was going to be way more heavily involved with the team. But I still think it's super important to lead from the front and put up big numbers. I think it's a big factor in it. So this last year, like it was super different because I was knocking pretty extreme hours with my Golden Door. So this last year I was knocking less hours, you could say. But I was still busier than ever just because there's so much that you can do for your reps. And
still performing at a high level.
Yeah. So that was this last year was fun, just learning like, yeah, how do I still sell at a high level? Like even though I sold less revenue, when I went and calculated like my per hour on the doors, I was actually selling more per hour on the doors, which is just fun to see that you're always getting better at the job. But it was just fun to perform at a high level while also running the team, running all the trainings, helping other reps at big summers, watching rookies just kill it. And, we had some reoccurring vets with their biggest years ever. We had one guy who's been in the industry for 7 years and he did his biggest year ever last year. So like, it's fun being involved in stuff like that and learning how can I help them? How can I add value to them? How can I serve them before and after the doors? Cause you learn there's a lot to do outside of just knocking when you're being a leader, but also how do I still maximize my time on the door? So I think just the biggest takeaway from last year was being able to balance those and at least trying to do both of those at a high level. So.
That's cool. I kind of want to, I mean, you've brought up a ton of good info, and I can tell like anyone would benefit just from like, I feel like the roadmap in your head of like where to go and what to say is world class. I might have had a conversation with one or two people that are like on your level, but I guess I want to ask. I think sales has like a lot of it is energy work, and just as much it is what you say.
Yeah.
What are things outside of sales that I guess bring energy into your life, like different relationships, different. I think a lot of times when guys get out there, and I think there's a lot of people that are trying to overcome their circumstance or improve their life through this vehicle.
Totally.
And I like, what are different things that you're like, hey, if these things are around me, they feed into this and I'm able to sell at a high level. What are some things that come to mind when I bring that up?
For sure, my wife. Like that's the biggest one. Not easy supporting, like a door-to-door husband. Obviously, she's a champ. She's awesome, but she's definitely the biggest one. Whether it's just the simple things like when you start working that many hours and long days, like it's silly. Yeah, she'll always have my food ready. Like I don't have to worry about making food during the day. Breakfast, I come home, there's a hot meal ready, and that goes so far in the summer. Having just food. A couple summers, she actually was a technician for me. She was like my personal tech, which is wild. I love shouting her out over that. She hates that, but
you told me that a couple months ago, and I remember just being in awe. That was an awesome story.
Yeah,
and
she's a champ. So.
If she's embarrassed by that, I think that's one of the coolest stories.
Yeah. So she just she's awesome, but sometimes she struggles with I'm not contributing in the summer, even though she fully is. But it is different, just dropping everything to come out and be there for the summer. And so to her, she felt like she was contributing if she could be on the doors with me, literally servicing my account. So she did that for a couple summers. She hated it. She won't do it anymore. But that was fun for a couple years. But she's the biggest support system around me. But I think just having, even if you're married, that's a huge add in my opinion. Not that it's like another thing you have to deal with, like it's not a burden, but it's definitely a support system. But even if you're not married and you don't have that, I think just having support systems in place, whether it's you have to have an outlet that is not your manager, like whether it's your mom or a brother or a friend back home, like I think you always need to have an outlet outside of the job that you can call and talk to or vent to if you need to every once in a while, just having an outlet. Obviously morning and nighttime routine I think are huge to having a good summer. And then just having a big reason why, like whether it's a lot of people are trying to get ahead and get their life together. Like I know me personally, we have pretty huge investing goals. We love to invest in different things. Zeke's the same way. So a big part of our culture with all of our guys is how do we help all these guys make money, but make their money, make them more money. And we're huge on the investing side of things. So that's where a lot of my reasons come from, is just hitting my investing goals. So whether it's something like that, whether it's paying for your medical school to go be a pilot and you want to pay for your flight school, whether it's, whatever it is, like I think just having a really strong why, having support systems around you, and then having an extremely dialed like morning and nighttime routine just eliminates a lot of the outside factors. That way, when it is time to knock on the doors, you can just knock and take the most out of that. So
that's dope. It's cool. I hope people will listen to that part. I feel like you gave a lot of great tips. I guess I don't ask this to everyone, but like, you had to give me some advice, and having come through like and worked at my company, like what's one thing that you'd be like, I would change this or I would do this?
Change with the company. Oh, that's tough. Yeah, you have a lot more experience in this than me. It's interesting because I feel like we've talked about this before, I know, but it's like if you keep the sales reps happy, sometimes the operations sides will hurt. And if you want to make the operations happy, like you have to, sometimes that hurts the sales side. Not that you can't do both. So I don't know. I feel like all my things are a lot of times like, how do I help the sales guys? How do I help the sales guys? How do I help the sales guys? But the more I've done it, I'm like, that definitely can hurt ops and hurt the law. Like I've seen both sides of it, especially now. So I don't know. I'm trying to think of something. But that's a hard game to balance for sure. Like how do you help sales and how do you help ops?
Yeah. So, well, and what's funny is they always just naturally put themselves at odds. I feel like with one another. Yeah. Like, and the best guys are the ones that can like bring them both together.
Yeah.
But so
if anything, like one that comes to mind that I know we've talked about is like welcome letters. I always think are really big. Like how do you have a welcome letter to where sales rep signs someone up, but then there's a clear welcome letter done that we know the customer and the sales rep are on the same. I think the biggest problem in sales is when expectations aren't met. And you can always point fingers, it's different people's fault, but between sales rep, customer, and technician, like all the expectations need to be lined up, and then usually customers are happy. So I think having a welcome letter can align all three of those typically.
And so when you were at Hawks, they had one.
Yeah. So we'd just the way we had it is we'd sign them up, and then when we finished signing it, it would send a text to their phone automatically, and then they had to do it on their phone before it would actually go onto the technician's route. So if they didn't do it on their phone, the technician couldn't service the account. So
wow. Well, it's honestly that's some great advice. I know a lot of people have implemented those, and because you gave me that advice earlier, we're actually already looking into something. So.
Yeah, I was like, I know we've talked about that. So.
Well, dude, Brayden, thanks so much for just taking the time, man. I really do appreciate it. And honestly, your approach to sales and the way in which you learned it is different than mine. So I learned a lot today, which was fun. And obviously, there's a ton of the same. But thanks for letting me learn from you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. These are fun.
Yeah.
So fun to add to guys.
But yeah, appreciate everything, and we're over now.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.